Tonight I wanted to talk about a more current subject, which is what it's been like to date in middle age. My last real boyfriend left me almost 5 years ago, and it took me a couple of years after he left to even feel ready to date. So I've been attempting to date off and on for the last almost 3 years. It's really different from dating in my 20s or even my 30s. You know, two of the main places that people tend to meet their mates are work and church, neither of which apply to me. At work, almost everyone who works there is young enough to be my kid, or at the very least, way too young to date. And then I just cannot do church. I mean, it's not just the one I was raised in. I just can't bring myself to do church. I've lost that belief entirely. So anyway, so that limits my options here greatly, because this is a small town. There's not exactly a lot of ways to meet people, especially in this age range. You know, the bar thing doesn't appeal to me. The type of people that I'm likely to meet there, probably not compatible. So, and, you know, I don't have, it's not like there's a ton of options here anyway. I don't really fit in. The majority of guys that I've run across, both in real life and online, are, you know, hunters, fishers, good old southern boys, religious, quite possibly, I mean, Christian, you know, and I mean, I'm not saying anything against any of these things. I'm just saying they're largely incompatible with me. I need someone who is intelligent and, you know, educates themselves, even if it's not a formal education. You know, they need to have an open mind. At least open enough to, you know, make rational, logical judgments about things, and not just be ignorant and closed-minded, willfully ignorant. So, and you know, in my 20s, most of the people around me, or at least the majority of them, you know, weren't married yet. So there was just a much bigger pool to choose from than there is now. Now, men my age are either married, or they've been through, you know, one or more bad marriages and are completely burned and don't ever want to get married again, maybe don't even want to have a serious relationship. So, my options are limited. What I ended up doing about 3 years ago, when I finally decided I was ready to try dating again, is I set up an account on OkCupid. And that actually went really well right from the get-go. I actually met a few interesting, intelligent guys that I talked to. But one of the first was the best friend slash love interest on my part. And that, well, that's pretty much colored everything the entire time, because we actually did date for about 8 months. And even after we quit actually dating and we're just friends, you know, best friends, significant others even, you know, I've been emotionally tied up with that. But, you know, and I'll try to explain this later when I talk more about that particular relationship. Especially once we stopped actually dating, there was no reason for me not to, you know, try to look elsewhere. And I've had a handful of guys that I've met in the last 3 years. But I've run into a couple of problems with this age in particular. I've always felt and acted and been perceived as quite a bit younger than my actual age, and I've kept very physically active, not as in, you know, I work out or even exercise regularly, any kind, but I work a lot of hours. I have 2 jobs. They're both physical, as in I'm not sitting at a desk most of the time. The day job I am a little bit, but the rest of the time I'm on my feet, walking back and forth, going up and down stairs. You know, I can still bend my knees and squat and all of that. And I definitely don't have the energy I did even 10 years ago. I have more aches and pains, but largely I'm in decent shape for my age. And one of the problems I have run into consistently with guys that I've met or talked to is that they, a good portion of them are run down. Like, maybe only, you know, 3 or 4 years older than me chronologically, but much older than that physically, you know, where they, I mean, I'm no spring chicken, you know, I'm not running around bursting with energy, but I have a decent amount, and my aches and pains don't stop me much, so I'm definitely more sedentary than I used to be. But these guys, you know, there was just no way for them to get anywhere close to my energy level for one reason or another, you know. And I mean, something that's a congenital condition, or maybe damage done, you know, 20 years ago. I mean, I'm not trying to downgrade these guys at all because of their physical condition, you know. I know that I'm lucky with some of my health, my great health can be attributed to my sturdy hillbilly genes, you know. But I'm just saying that that's a compatibility issue when you have things that a lot of things that you want to be able to do, and this person that you're dating can't do many or any of those things. And I should say that one of them is sex. Now, sex is not all that important to me these days. It's been waning. My drive has waned quite a bit over the last year or two. But I'm not quite ready to resign myself to never having it again. And with the best friend, if we had continued dating and become serious, that I would have had to either resign myself to that, or I would have had to go outside the relationship, which, you know, that probably would have been okay with him. I don't know really exactly how I feel about that, but anyway, so that's an issue. And then I actually did meet a guy who was the first person to really, really interest me since meeting the best friend. And I mean, it seemed very promising. He's actually about 9 years older than me, and yet has my energy level or more. Intelligent, a talented, really talented musician. I mean, you know, lives 30 minutes away. So all of that just, you would think would be very promising, but there I ran into the issue of he got very badly burned in a marriage and says he's never doing that again, and is currently in a strange relationship with a semi-stalker girlfriend, and just says he has nothing to give romantically. He's interested in sex, but then I have very, very little interest in sex without a romantic relationship attached to it. It does nothing for me. I mean, yeah, it might a little bit in the moment, but afterwards I'm left with nothing, and I know this, and it just it drains any interest that I might have had for the most part. So, and then I should add, I got back on OkCupid back in January, I guess, and the format has changed, and I'm having absolutely no luck on there at all. I do think, you know how websites can trend in various directions over time, and it may be trending to more of a hookup site. So I am considering, once I get a couple of things paid off, signing up for Match.com for like 6 months, just to see, because I just, I don't really know what other options I have at the moment. And to tell you the truth, I've resigned myself to being alone enough that I don't have enough interest to work up the energy to put much real effort into dating. I'm maybe slowly but surely trying to end that part, that segment of my life, because it just seems hopeless.